The champagne flute in my wife's hand trembled like a tuning fork, and I knew, with the kind of certainty that comes from watching someone self-destruct in slow motion for months, that Vanessa was about to torch her career in the most spectacular way possible. "Ladies and gentlemen," she slurred into the microphone at the Meridian Hotel's crystal-draped ballroom, her voice carrying that dangerous edge I'd learned to fear. "I want to toast the real man in my life." 300 corporate executives, investors, and PR professionals fell silent. The kind of silence that precedes either standing ovations or public executions. I stood frozen near the bar, my own drink turning to acid in my stomach as my wife of 7 years prepared to detonate everything we'd built together. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My name is Nick Halston, and I'm a tech consultant, the kind of guy who fixes other people's digital disasters while my own life crumbles around me. 39 years old, sharp enough to debug complex systems, apparently too stupid to debug my own marriage. Tonight, I was supposed to be Vanessa's supportive husband at her company's annual gala, the dutiful +1 applauding her inevitable promotion to Senior VP of Communications at Hartwell Associates. Instead, I was about to watch her career implode like a controlled demolition. "To Evan Morrison," Vanessa continued, her emerald dress catching the ballroom lights as she swayed slightly. "My business partner, my confidant, and so much more. Evan Morrison, 34 years old, newly minted investor with more abs than brain cells, and my former best friend. The man who'd been helping Vanessa with late-night strategy sessions for the past 3 months. The same Evan who was now standing at table 12, his face cycling through emotions like a broken slot machine. The crowd's collective intake of breath could have powered a small wind farm. "Vanessa," I heard CEO Harold Grant's voice cut through the silence like a scalpel. Grant was 62, silver-haired, and had the emotional warmth of a tax audit. He'd built Hartwell Associates from nothing into a $100 million PR empire, and he didn't tolerate scandal. But Vanessa was already moving, champagne sloshing as she stumbled toward Evan's table. The hotel's cameras, installed for security, now capturing corporate suicide, tracked her movement like predators, following wounded prey. "This man," she announced, grabbing Evan by his Armani lapels, "deserves recognition for everything he's done for me." Then she kissed him. Not a polite peck, not an air kiss, but a full-contact, tongue-involved, leave no doubt about our relationship kiss that lasted approximately 15 seconds and ended 7 years of marriage in front of 300 witnesses. The ballroom erupted. Phones emerged like mushrooms after rain, recording, live streaming, uploading to social media platforms faster than I could process what was happening. Vanessa's friends, Priya Chen from marketing and Lauren Williams from client relations, sat at table 6 with their mouths hanging open like broken drawbridges. "Well," Grant's voice boomed through the sound system as he took the microphone from Vanessa's limp fingers. "This is certainly unexpected." Unexpected, like calling a nuclear meltdown a minor technical difficulty. "Ms. Hartwell," Grant continued, using Vanessa's maiden name with surgical precision, "I believe we need to discuss your employment status. Effective immediately, you're terminated for violation of company policy regarding professional conduct and conflicts of interest." The silence that followed was so complete, I could hear the ice melting in abandoned drinks. Vanessa's face went through several color changes, red to white to green, like a malfunctioning traffic light. "Harold, you can't be serious. It was just deadly serious," Grant replied. "Security will escort you out. Your personal items will be boxed and delivered tomorrow." That's when Evan finally found his voice. "Now wait just a minute," he said, standing up with the kind of righteous indignation that only works if you haven't just been caught tongue-wrestling another man's wife. "Vanessa is a valuable employee, And if this is about our business relationship, Mr. Morrison, Grant interrupted, your investment firm was under consideration for our new digital media campaign. That consideration has ended. Permanently. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. In 30 seconds, Vanessa had lost her job, her reputation, and her lover's business prospects. It was like watching a masterclass in self-destruction. I should have felt devastated, betrayed, humiliated. Instead, I felt something else entirely. Satisfaction. Because what none of them knew, not Vanessa, not Evan, not the gawking crowd, was that I'd been planning this moment for weeks. You see, I'd known about the affair since February. Vanessa wasn't nearly as clever as she thought, and cheating spouses always underestimate tech consultants. Her phone, her laptop, her social media accounts. I had access to everything. Every late-night text, every hotel reservation, every lie she'd told me about working late. But I hadn't confronted her. I'd done something much more satisfying. I'd waited, and planned, and prepared for exactly this moment. The company policy Vanessa had just violated? I'd helped Grant's IT department update it 3 weeks ago, adding specific language about conflicts of interest and public behavior that could damage the company's reputation. The security cameras capturing every moment? I'd upgraded their resolution and cloud storage capacity just last month. And Evan's investment firm? I'd made sure Grant knew exactly who Evan Morrison was and what he'd been doing with his star employee. As security guards approached Vanessa and Evan, I finished my drink and headed for the exit. My phone was already buzzing with calls and texts, but I ignored them all. There would be time for damage control later. Right now, I wanted to savor this moment. The moment when Vanessa's carefully constructed world began to crumble. But this was just the beginning. What she'd done to me, to us, deserved more than a public firing. It deserved complete and total destruction, and I was exactly the right person to deliver it. The apartment felt different when I got home. Same expensive furniture, same panoramic view of downtown Seattle, same framed photos of happier times, but everything had shifted, like walking into a movie set after the cameras stopped rolling. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and settled into my leather chair, the one Vanessa always said made me look like a pretentious academic. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since I left the hotel. 17 missed calls, 43 text messages, and counting. The first wave came from Vanessa herself. "Where are you?" "Nick, answer your phone." "This is all a misunderstanding. We need to talk now. Don't you dare abandon me." The second wave came from concerned friends and colleagues who'd seen the social media explosion. Apparently, someone had live-streamed the entire disaster on Instagram, and it was spreading faster than a computer virus. Riley Martinez, my bartender friend from the Meridian, texted, "Dude, that was insane. You okay? Hotel's buzzing like a beehive." I was typing a response when the apartment door slammed open with enough force to rattle the windows. "Nick!" Vanessa's voice cut through the silence like a fire alarm. "What the hell did you do?" She stood in the doorway, still wearing that emerald dress, her makeup smeared like abstract art. Her hair, which had been perfectly styled 3 hours ago, now looked like she'd been wrestling with a tornado. "What did I do?" I asked, not getting up from my chair. "I went to your company party, watched you make out with my best friend, and came home. Pretty standard Tuesday night, really." "Don't give me that sarcastic bullshit," she snapped, stalking into the living room on unsteady heels. "You set me up. You planned this." I had to admire her intuition, even if her execution was lacking. "Vanessa, you kissed another man in front of 300 people and got yourself fired. I'm good, but I'm not mind control good." She threw her purse at me. It missed by 2 feet and knocked over a lamp. "You've been planning this for weeks. I know you have. You updated their IT systems. You've been talking to Grant." "I do IT consulting for half the companies in this city," I interrupted. "It's called having a job. You should try it sometime." Her face went nuclear red. I had a job, the best job in the city, and now it's gone because you sabotaged me. No, Vanessa. It's gone because you're a cheating, narcissistic disaster who couldn't keep her hands off my best friend for 5 minutes during a public event. She slapped me. Hard. The sound echoed through the apartment like a gunshot. I touched my cheek, feeling the sting, and smiled. Feel better? She whispered. You recorded everything, didn't you? You've been watching me, following me, collecting evidence like some kind of stalker. I didn't have to follow you, I said, standing up slowly. You left your laptop open, your phone synced to our shared cloud account. Your calendar showed every business meeting with Evan at the Fairmont Hotel. You made it embarrassingly easy. The color drained from her face. You can't use any of that. It's illegal. Actually, it's not. Shared devices, shared accounts, shared apartment, all perfectly legal. I checked with my lawyer. That was a lie. I hadn't talked to any lawyer. But Vanessa didn't know that. My phone rang. Evan's name flashed on the screen. Answer it, Vanessa demanded. He deserves an explanation. I declined the call and blocked his number. Evan deserves exactly what he got tonight. Nothing. He loves me, she said, like that explained everything. He loves the idea of you, the successful PR executive with connections and influence. Wonder how much he'll love unemployed, scandal-ridden you. She started crying then. Real tears, not the strategic ones she used in business meetings. Nick, please, we can fix this. I made a mistake, but we can work through it. No, I said simply. We can't. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Saw the show tonight. Impressive work. Ready for Phase 2? M. Miranda Voss, Vanessa's ambitious rival at Hartwell Associates. The woman who'd been feeding me inside information for weeks, waiting for exactly this opportunity. Who's that? Vanessa asked, trying to read over my shoulder. Nobody important, I said, deleting the message. Just like you. She threw herself at me then, fists flying, screaming incoherently about betrayal and revenge and how I'd ruined everything. I caught her wrists easily. Vanessa was all fury and no strength. Listen carefully, I said, holding her still. Tomorrow morning you're going to pack your things and leave. You can stay with your parents or Priya or whoever's still talking to you, but you're not staying here. This is my apartment too. No, it's not. It's my apartment. My name on the lease, my security deposit, my furniture. You've been living here like a guest for 2 years. Another lie, but a convincing one. The apartment was actually in both our names, but Vanessa was too rattled to think clearly. You can't do this, she sobbed. I have nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before you decided to audition for a soap opera at your company party. I released her wrists and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. Seattle looked peaceful from 40 floors up, all the chaos and drama reduced to twinkling dots. I loved you, Vanessa whispered behind me. No, I said without turning around. You loved what I could do for you. The stable income, the nice apartment, the respectable husband to bring to company events. But you never loved me. That's not true. Then why did you cheat? Silence. Why did you lie to me for 3 months? More silence. Why did you humiliate me in front of everyone I know? She didn't answer because she couldn't. Because the truth was that Vanessa had never thought of me as a real person with real feelings. I was just another accessory in her carefully curated life. But that life was over now. My phone rang again. This time, it was Riley. Hey, Nick, he said when I answered. You need to see the news. Channel 7 just ran a story about tonight. They're calling it The Kiss That Killed a Career. Perfect. The next morning brought a media circus that would have made P.T. Barnum weep with joy. I woke up to find news vans parked outside our building, reporters with microphones lurking in the lobby, and my phone ringing every 30 seconds. Vanessa was gone. She'd left sometime after midnight, taking 2 suitcases and her wounded pride. The apartment felt lighter without her, like someone had finally opened the windows after years of stale air. I made coffee and scrolled through the coverage on my laptop. Channel 7 had indeed run the story, complete with grainy cell phone footage of the kiss. The Seattle Times business section featured an article titled PR Executive Fired After Public Affair Revelation. 3 different gossip blogs had picked it up, and Don Vanessa kiss was trending on Twitter, but the real masterpiece was the video someone had posted to YouTube. Epic corporate meltdown. Wife kisses best friend at company party. It had 50,000 views and counting. My phone buzzed with a text from Miranda. Coffee? We should talk. I met her at Pike Place Market, far from the corporate district where we might be recognized. Miranda Voss was everything Vanessa pretended to be. Smart, calculating, and absolutely ruthless. 32 years old, auburn hair, sharp business suits, and the kind of smile that could cut glass. That was quite a show last night, she said, stirring her latte. Very entertaining. I aim to please. Grant's already called an emergency meeting about the PR nightmare. Apparently 3 clients have asked for reassurance that their campaigns won't be affected by the Vanessa situation. And I've been asked to handle crisis management, temporarily, of course. Her smile could have powered a small city, though these temporary positions have a way of becoming permanent. Miranda had been Vanessa's biggest rival at Hartwell Associates for 3 years. Every promotion Vanessa got, Miranda had wanted. Every major client, every high-profile campaign, every moment in the spotlight. Miranda had been there, watching, waiting, planning. What do you need from me? I asked. Nothing dramatic, just some background information about Vanessa's personal habits, her relationship with Evan, her work ethic, her reliability. The kind of details that might help Grant understand why this happened. And in return, I make sure Vanessa never works in PR again, in this city or any other. It was a devil's bargain, but I'd already sold my soul. Might as well get full value. I spent the next hour providing Miranda with a detailed character assassination of my soon-to-be ex-wife. Every missed deadline, every client complaint, every time Vanessa had taken credit for someone else's work. Miranda recorded it all on her phone, nodding and taking notes like a prosecutor building a case. This is very helpful, she said when I finished. Grant values loyalty above all else. When he learns that Vanessa's been unreliable for months, it'll confirm his decision to fire her. What about Evan? What about him? His investment firm was small-time anyway. Without Hartwell's account, he'll be lucky to manage trust funds for rich widows. I walked home through downtown Seattle, past the familiar coffee shops and tech offices where I'd built my career. Everything looked the same, but I felt different, lighter, like I'd been carrying a heavy weight for months and finally set it down. My phone rang as I reached my building. Vanessa's name flashed on the screen. Nick, thank God, she said when I answered. I've been trying to reach you all morning. I've been busy, watching your career burn on social media. That's what I'm calling about. We can fix this. I've talked to a crisis management firm, and they think we can spin this as a momentary lapse in judgment. A marriage under stress, a moment of weakness. We? Yes, we. You're my husband. If you stand by me, show a united front, we can weather this together. I almost laughed. Vanessa, you kissed another man in front of 300 people. You got fired for cause. You're trending on Twitter as a cautionary tale about workplace conduct. There is no we anymore. But the reporters, they're asking about you too. About our marriage, about whether you knew about Evan. If you don't support me publicly, it'll look like you abandoned me. I did abandon you, the moment you decided to cheat. Nick, please, I'm staying with my parents and they're talking about cutting me off financially. If I can't find another job soon, then maybe you should have thought about that before you torpedoed your reputation. I hung up and blocked her number. That evening, I met Riley at Murphy's Pub, a dive bar near the waterfront where nobody cared about corporate scandals or social media trends. Riley had been bartending at the Meridian for 5 years, and he'd seen enough rich people drama to fill a library. "So, what's the plan now?" he asked, sliding a beer across the scarred wooden table. "Plan? Come on, Nick. You didn't just accidentally destroy your wife's career. You've been planning this for weeks. What's the next move?" Riley was smarter than he looked. Bartenders usually were. "The next move is divorce," I said. "Clean, simple, no-fault dissolution. She gets nothing, I get everything, and we both move on with our lives." "And Evan? What about him? You're not going to do anything about the guy who was screwing your wife?" I took a long sip of beer, considering. Evan Morrison had been my friend since college. We'd been best men at each other's weddings, gone on vacation together, shared everything from business advice to bad jokes. When he started his investment firm 2 years ago, I'd helped him set up his computer systems, designed his website, even referred clients to him, and he'd repaid that friendship by seducing my wife. "I'm thinking about it," I said finally. "Well, think faster. Word is, he's been calling around town, trying to do damage control, telling people you set him up, that you manipulated the situation to make him look bad." That got my attention. "What kind of damage control?" "The kind where he throws you under the bus to save his own reputation. Claims you knew about the affair, that you encouraged it as part of some sick game. Makes himself look like the victim of a manipulative husband." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Evan was trying to rewrite history, turn himself from cheating bastard into innocent victim. And if he was convincing enough, if he could sell that story to the right people. "Where's he staying?" I asked. "Last I heard, that new condo building downtown, the Meridian Tower, penthouse level, of course." Of course. Evan always did like his status symbols. "Thanks for the heads up," I said, finishing my beer. "Nick?" Riley called as I headed for the door. "Whatever you're planning, be careful. Guys like Evan, they don't go down easy." I smiled. Neither do guys like me. The Meridian Tower was the kind of building that screamed new money. All glass and steel and unnecessary architectural flourishes designed to impress people who confused expensive with elegant. Evan's penthouse occupied the entire 42nd floor, a monument to the kind of success that looked impressive from the outside and hollow from within. I didn't go up to confront him, not yet. Instead, I spent 3 days gathering intelligence, the same way I'd approach debugging a complex system, methodically, thoroughly, and with complete attention to detail. Miranda proved invaluable. As Hartwell's new interim VP of Communications, she had access to all of Vanessa's old files, including her correspondence with Evan's investment firm. What she found was fascinating. Evan hadn't just been sleeping with my wife, he'd been using her to gather inside information about Hartwell's clients and strategies. "Look at this," Miranda said, showing me printed emails on her laptop screen. "We were meeting at a coffee shop in Capitol Hill, far from downtown's corporate surveillance network. 3 months ago, Evan's firm suddenly started pitching the same clients Hartwell was courting. Same strategies, same talking points, sometimes word-for-word identical proposals. Industrial espionage through adultery," I said. "Creative. It gets better. Remember the Pemberton Industries account that Vanessa lost last month? The one where the client said our proposal felt stale and predictable? Guess who landed that account 2 weeks later? Morrison Investments. Exactly. Your friend wasn't just screwing your wife, Nick. He was screwing your wife's entire company. This was perfect. Better than perfect. Evan had handed me the ammunition to destroy not just his relationship with Vanessa, but his entire business. "What does Grant know about this?" I asked. "Nothing yet, but he's scheduled a full audit of all client communications from the past 6 months. When he finds out that Vanessa was essentially functioning as Evan's inside source." She smiled that razor-sharp smile, Well, let's just say terminated employees don't get good references. That afternoon, I paid a visit to Evan's office. Morrison Investments occupied a modest suite in a downtown high-rise, the kind of place that looked successful if you didn't look too closely. Evan had always been better at appearances than substance. His assistant, a nervous young woman named Jessica, tried to tell me he was in a meeting. "Tell him Nick Halston is here," I said. "Tell him we need to discuss his future." 5 minutes later, I was sitting across from my former best friend in his glass-walled office, watching him try to project confidence while sweat beaded on his forehead. "Nick," he said, attempting his old, charming smile. "I was hoping we could talk. I bet you were. Look, I know how this must look, but you have to understand. Vanessa and I, it just happened. We didn't plan it, we didn't want to hurt you. Sometimes these things just—" "Evan," I interrupted. "Stop talking." He stopped. I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recorder app, setting it on his desk between us. "I'm going to ask you some questions, and you're going to answer them honestly. If you lie to me, if you try to spin this or manipulate the situation, I'm going to destroy you in ways you can't even imagine." His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. "Nick, you're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared. Question 1. How long have you been sleeping with my wife?" 3 months, maybe 4. Question 2. Did you use information she gave you about Hartwell's clients to benefit your own business? Long pause. We talked about work sometimes. That's not what I asked. Did you use confidential information from Hartwell Associates to steal their clients? Another pause. Longer this time. It wasn't stealing, it was just competitive intelligence. Question 3. Are you currently telling people that I knew about your affair and encouraged it? Who told you that? Answer the question, Evan. I may have mentioned to a few people that you seemed distant lately, like maybe you suspected something but didn't want to confront it directly. I turned off the recorder and put my phone back in my pocket. Thank you for your honesty. What are you going to do with that recording? Depends on what you do next. I stood up and straightened my jacket. Here's what's going to happen, Evan. You're going to return every client you stole from Hartwell. You're going to write a detailed confession about your industrial espionage and send copies to Grant and the Better Business Bureau, and you're going to disappear from Seattle. I can't do that. My business, my reputation. Your business is built on stolen information, and your reputation is already shot. The only question is whether you leave town quietly or whether I have to drag you out kicking and screaming. You can't threaten me. I leaned across his desk, close enough to see the fear in his eyes. I'm not threatening you, Evan. I'm explaining reality. You betrayed me, you betrayed my wife, and you betrayed every principle of honest business. Now, you get to face the consequences. And if I refuse? Then I release that recording to every business journal in the Pacific Northwest, along with the emails Miranda found showing how you used Vanessa to spy on Hartwell's clients. I also send copies to the Washington State Bar Association's Ethics Committee, since using an affair to commit corporate espionage probably violates several professional conduct rules. His face went pale. You wouldn't. Try me. I walked to his office door, then turned back. Oh, and Evan? Vanessa's parents cut her off yesterday. She's broke, unemployed, and radioactive in the PR world. Still think she was worth it? I left him sitting there, staring at his hands, probably wondering how his perfect plan had fallen apart so completely. That evening I got a call from Miranda. Grant wants to see you tomorrow, she said. He's heard about your conversation with Morrison. From who? Does it matter? The important thing is that he wants to offer you a consulting contract. Seems he's impressed by your investigative skills. What kind of contract? The kind that pays very, very well, and the kind that comes with certain discretionary authority regarding former employees who might pose ongoing risks to the company. I understood. Grant wanted me to finish what I'd started, to make sure Vanessa and Evan never posed a threat to Hartwell and Associates again. I'll be there, I said. Excellent. Oh, and Nick, bring that recording. Grant's going to want to hear it. As I hung up, I felt a familiar satisfaction settle over me. The same feeling I got when I finally isolated a particularly stubborn bug in a complex system. Everything was falling into place exactly as I'd planned. But the best part was still to come. The meeting with Harold Grant took place in his corner office on the 45th floor of the Hartwell building, with panoramic views of Elliott Bay and the Olympic Mountains. Grant was the kind of man who used furniture as psychological warfare. His desk was massive, his chair was elevated, and his guest chairs were deliberately uncomfortable. "Mr. Halston," he said, not bothering to look up from the papers on his desk, "I understand you've been conducting your own investigation into the Morrison affair." "I've been protecting my interests," I replied, "and doing a thorough job of it." He finally looked up, his gray eyes sharp as surgical steel. "Ms. Voss has shared some interesting information about your wife's professional conduct, and I understand you have additional evidence regarding Mr. Morrison's business practices." I placed my phone on his desk and played Evan's recorded confession. Grant listened without expression, his fingers steepled under his chin. "Industrial espionage," he said when the recording ended. "Using an extramarital affair to steal confidential client information. Very creative, very illegal. What do you plan to do about it? What would you recommend?" It was a test. Grant didn't need my advice. He'd been handling corporate crises since before I learned to type. He wanted to see how far I was willing to go. "Complete destruction," I said. "Morrison's business, his reputation, his ability to work in this industry. Make him an example." Grant smiled for the first time since I'd entered his office. "I like your thinking. Ms. Voss suggested we might retain your services as a security consultant, someone to help us identify and neutralize potential threats to the company." "What kind of threats?" "The kind that steal our clients, compromise our employees, and damage our reputation. The kind that need to be dealt with, creatively." He slid a contract across the desk. The numbers made my eyes widen. 6 figures, plus bonuses, plus discretionary expenses. More money than I'd made in the past 2 years combined. "There's one condition," Grant continued, "complete confidentiality. What you do for this company stays within these walls. Are we clear?" Crystal clear. I signed the contract and shook his hand. As I left his office, Miranda was waiting by the elevators. "Congratulations," she said. "You're now officially part of the team." "What's my first assignment?" "Cleanup. Vanessa's been making noise about wrongful termination, claiming she was fired for personal reasons rather than professional misconduct. She's hired a lawyer." This was news to me. "What kind of lawyer?" "The kind that specializes in employment discrimination and intimate harassment cases. She's claiming that Grant created a hostile work environment, that she was pressured into the relationship with Morrison, and that her termination was retaliation for being a victim." I felt something cold and angry settle in my chest. She's playing the victim card. Beautifully, complete with tears and everything. Her lawyer thinks they can get a settlement in the mid-6 figures. Over my dead body. That's the spirit. Grant wants this handled quietly and permanently. No settlement, no lawsuit, no ongoing problems. Can you deliver? I thought about Vanessa's new strategy. It was clever, I had to admit. Turn herself from cheating wife into victimized employee, make Grant and the company look like the villains, and walk away with enough money to start over somewhere else. But it wouldn't work. Because I knew things about Vanessa that her lawyer didn't. Things that would turn her victim narrative into a punchline. "I can deliver," I told Miranda, "but I'll need complete access to her personnel file, her email history, and her client communications." "Already arranged. There's a secure folder waiting in your new office." "I have an office? 38th floor, corner suite. Welcome to Hartwell Associates, Mr. Halston. My new office was everything Vanessa had always wanted and never achieved. Spacious, well-appointed, with a view of the Sound and my name on the door. I spent the rest of the day reviewing her files, building a comprehensive picture of her professional incompetence and personal misconduct. What I found was even better than I'd hoped. Vanessa hadn't just been feeding information to Evan. She'd been systematically undermining her colleagues, stealing credit for their work, and covering up her own mistakes by blaming others. Her personnel file contained formal complaints from 3 different coworkers, 2 client complaints about her unprofessional behavior, and a written warning about excessive personal use of company resources. But the real treasure was in her email history. Hundreds of messages to Evan, not just about stolen client information, but about her plans to eventually leave Hartwell and join his firm as a partner. She'd been planning to betray the company long before she betrayed me. I compiled everything into a comprehensive report, complete with documentation and timeline. Then I called Vanessa's lawyer. "Mr. Patterson?" I said when he answered. "This is Nick Halston, Vanessa's husband. I understand you're representing her in a potential lawsuit against Hartwell Associates." "Mr. Halston, I can't discuss your wife's case with you unless she's present or gives explicit consent. I'm not calling about her case. I'm calling about mine." Silence. "You see, Mr. Patterson, I'm also considering legal action against my wife for fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and conspiracy to commit industrial espionage. I have extensive documentation of her activities, including recorded confessions from her co-conspirator." More silence. "Now, I'm willing to keep this information private as long as her lawsuit against Hartwell disappears. But if she insists on playing the victim, I'll be forced to demonstrate exactly what kind of victim she really is. I'll need to discuss this with my client. You do that. But Mr. Patterson, tell her that her loving husband says hello." I hung up and leaned back in my executive chair, watching the sunset paint Elliott Bay in shades of gold and crimson. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Impressive work, but we're not finished yet. Time for the grand finale. V. Vanessa." She wanted to meet. One final confrontation before everything ended. I texted back, "When and where?" "Tonight. Our old apartment. Come alone." I deleted the message and gathered my things. It was time to finish what we'd started at that company party. Time to end this marriage the same way it had died, with complete and total honesty. But first, I made one more call. "Riley? It's Nick. I need a favor. And I need you to bring a camera." The apartment felt like a crime scene when I returned that night. Not because anything violent had happened, but because it was the place where 7 years of marriage had finally died. The living room still showed signs of Vanessa's dramatic exit: overturned lamp, scattered papers, the lingering scent of her expensive perfume mixed with desperation. She was waiting for me in the kitchen, sitting at our breakfast bar with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. She'd changed out of her business attire into jeans and a sweater, trying to look casual and approachable. It didn't work. The dark circles under her eyes and the brittle set of her shoulders betrayed the act. "Hello, Nick," she said, pouring wine into both glasses. "Thank you for coming." "Vanessa." I remained standing, keeping the kitchen island between us. "I hear you hired a lawyer." "I had to. Grant's trying to destroy me, and you're helping him. Grant's protecting his company. I'm protecting myself." She pushed one of the wine glasses toward me. "This doesn't have to be a war, you know. We could handle this like adults." I didn't touch the wine. Adults don't cheat on their spouses and then play victim when there are consequences. "I made a mistake," she said, taking a sip from her own glass. "One mistake, after 7 years of marriage. Doesn't that count for something? One mistake that lasted 4 months. One mistake that involves stealing company secrets. One mistake that you broadcast to 300 people at a corporate event." Her composure cracked slightly. You set me up. You knew exactly what would happen if I had too much to drink at that party. I knew you'd been cheating. I knew you'd been lying. I didn't know you'd be stupid enough to announce it publicly. So you decided to ruin my life instead of talking to me like a human being. I almost laughed. When exactly should I have talked to you, Vanessa? Between your business meetings with Evan at the Fairmont Hotel? During one of your late-night strategy sessions at his apartment? Or maybe during one of the 17 times you lied to my face about working late? She flinched as if I'd slapped her. You've been spying on me. I've been paying attention. There's a difference. My phone buzzed with a text from Riley. In position, ready when you are. Riley was stationed in the building's lobby with a high-definition camera, waiting for my signal. What Vanessa didn't know was that this conversation was being live-streamed to a private YouTube channel, where Miranda and several other Hartwell employees were watching in real time. Your lawyer called me today, I continued. Seems you're planning to sue Hartwell for wrongful termination. They fired me for having a personal relationship. That's discrimination. They fired you for committing industrial espionage. That's called justice. You gave Evan confidential client information. You helped him steal the Pemberton account. You were planning to leave Hartwell and join his firm as a partner. I pulled out my phone and showed her screenshots of her own emails. Should I keep reading, or do you want to drop the lawsuit? Her face went white as she recognized her own words. Where did you get those? Does it matter? The point is, your victim narrative just fell apart. You weren't some innocent employee caught up in an office romance. You were a corporate spy using intimacy to steal trade secrets. She stood up abruptly, knocking over her wine glass. Red liquid spread across the white marble countertop like blood. You planned all of this. I planned to protect myself and the people I care about. You planned to betray everyone who trusted you. I loved you, she screamed. No, I said calmly. You loved what I could provide. The stable income, the nice apartment, the respectable husband to bring to company events. But you never loved me. She grabbed the wine bottle and threw it at me. I ducked, and it shattered against the refrigerator, sending glass and wine everywhere. Feel better? I asked. She was crying now, real tears mixing with mascara to create dark streaks down her cheeks. What do you want from me, Nick? What will it take to end this? I want you to disappear, I said. Drop the lawsuit, leave Seattle, and never contact me again. Start over somewhere else, under a different name if necessary. But get out of my life and stay out. And if I refuse? Then I release everything. The emails, the recordings, the documentation of your corporate espionage. I turn you into a case study in business ethics classes. I make sure that every PR firm in the country knows exactly who Vanessa Hartwell is and what she's capable of. She sank back onto the bar stool, defeated. You really hate me, don't you? No, I said, and I meant it. I don't hate you, Vanessa. I just don't care about you anymore. You're not my wife, you're not my problem, and you're not my responsibility. You're just someone I used to know who made some very bad choices. My phone rang. Miranda's name flashed on the screen. Excuse me, I said, answering the call. Hello, Miranda. Nick, we've been watching the stream. Grant wants to know if she's agreed to drop the lawsuit. I looked at Vanessa, who was staring at me with growing horror as she realized what was happening. Vanessa, I said, Miranda's asking if you're going to drop the lawsuit. What should I tell her? You're live streaming this? She whispered. To a private audience. Grant, Miranda, and a few other Hartwell executives. They wanted to hear your response directly. She looked around the apartment like a trapped animal, searching for escape routes that didn't exist. How long have you been planning this? Since the night I found out about Evan. Every step, every move, every conversation, all carefully orchestrated to bring us to this moment. You're insane. I'm thorough. There's a difference. I held up my phone. Miranda's waiting for an answer. Vanessa closed her eyes and took a shuddering breath. When she opened them again, something had changed. The fight had gone out of her, replaced by resignation. "Tell her I'll drop the lawsuit," she said quietly. "Excellent," Miranda's voice came through the phone's speaker. "Grant will be pleased. Oh, and Vanessa, pack quickly. Your replacement starts Monday." I hung up and looked at my soon-to-be ex-wife. She was still sitting at the breakfast bar, surrounded by broken glass and spilled wine, looking like the ruins of everything she used to be. "I'll send divorce papers to your parents' house," I said. "No-fault dissolution, clean split. You can keep your car and your personal belongings. Everything else stays here. Including you? Including me." She stood up slowly, carefully avoiding the broken glass. "I really did love you, Nick. Maybe not the way you wanted, but in my own way." "I know," I said. "But it wasn't enough." She walked to the door, then turned back one last time. "What happened to us? We used to be happy. We used to pretend to be happy. There's a difference." After she left, I spent an hour cleaning up the broken glass and wine stains. Then I poured myself a bourbon and sat in my leather chair, looking out at the city lights. My phone buzzed with a text from Riley. "Streams ended. Holy shit, dude, that was brutal." Another text from Miranda. "Congratulations, Grant's already approved your bonus." And finally, one from an unknown number. "Well played. Evan." Probably watching from whatever hole he'd crawled into after I'd destroyed his business. I deleted all the messages and finished my bourbon. Tomorrow, I'd start the divorce proceedings. Next week, I'd begin my new job at Hartwell Associates. Next month, I'd probably start dating again. But tonight, I was just going to sit in my apartment, and enjoy the silence. For the first time in months, I felt completely at peace.